Hi, in this episode I'll be talking to my friend and fellow YouTuber Diarmuid O'Donovan. He's the guy that helped me improve my YouTube content and influenced my work on this podcast. Over at BREW we'll be discussing his career as a professional photographer, YouTuber and podcaster, and how scuba diving improved his relationship with his father. Do you fancy a brew? Diarmuid works as a professional photographer and makes phenomenal video blogs about landscape photography using time-lapse and drones. He runs the Irish Photography podcast with his mate Darren J. Spooney and his own one-to-one series interviewing some really big names in the business. He also talks about his struggles of taking his camera into the water. So grab yourself a brew, sit back and enjoy. How's it going, big boy?
Good. Nice to actually sit down and have a chat with you, buddy. How's things? You all well?
Yeah, I'm good. You got your cup of tea?
I'm different. I don't drink tea or coffee, so I'll have a pint of Coke. I have to be different.
Well, I'd have got a beer, to be fair.
Oh, Jesus, if I'd known that. No,
Mate, I've got my special green mug just because I want to welcome you to my podcast. Thanks for coming.
Excellent.
So, I don't remember how we met. My recollection is I went on one of these YouTube, Facebook, try and get loads of people to follow me pages. Was it that?
Yeah, I think it was a YouTube, Facebook YouTube group. I don't know, what was it? Is that what it was?
I think it was, yeah. So
Yeah.
if I post my link there, hopefully 1 million people will follow me, and I'll follow all them back, and then within 5 minutes they'll all just fuck off. So you lose them all.
We'll stick with that story. So yeah.
I think that's how it came about, and obviously then we started having a bit of a chat. And to be fair, you've been quite influential in some of the aspects of things I've bought, certainly by selling them to me, or decisions on which way I go, left or right on certain things. So thanks very much for that. It's certainly been a big help.
Have we started the interview already? Just out of curiosity.
I guess so, yeah. Why were you going to video?
I didn't press fucking record, sorry.
You bellend.
Okay, and record on the audio unit. Testing 1, 2, 3. I'm good to go. All right.
I wouldn't have come across you, I don't think, unless I'd have gone on there. So I feel quite fortunate to have then found you and you be quite a good positive influence in me. But I still don't really know an awful lot about you other than what I've seen on your YouTube. So if you want to give a short introduction to about who you are, what you do, and what's going on in your world, and then we'll take it from there, eh?
Sure. So my name is Diarmuid O'Donovan. It's spelled Diarmuid. So a lot of people mess it up saying Diarmuid and Diarmuid and all that. So yeah, it's just Diarmuid. But a lot of people call me Dodd. It's so much easier. D-O-D, my initials.
Dodd.
Yeah, so I'm 36 years of age, from Ireland, a small place called Limerick, and I do a lot of my scuba diving on the west coast of Ireland in a place called County Clare. I mean, it's unbelievable. But I'm not diving too long, Andy, to be honest with you. I started diving. I joined Limerick Tobacco Club back in late 2017. I did my first dive, wait there now, on the 25th of February 2018 in a place called New Quay, and my depth was 8.2 meters. And I remember it like it was yesterday.
Is that New Quay, Cornwall?
No, New Quay, County Clare. And I drank my air in about half an hour.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, just a small little scuba diver from a small place called Limerick, Ireland. So I love it, so I'm into photography big time. That's my biggest thing about being an underwater scuba diver. Yeah. I was actually into photography before I started scuba diving. And normally that's the type of trait that is the other way around. Normally scuba divers become photographers.
I'm one of them. Hello, yeah. I'm definitely that guy.
Oh, but like that's the normal kind of way that kind of scuba divers kind of advanced as their careers kind of move along. But myself then as well, I have my own podcast. It's called the Irish Photography Podcast, and I do that along with a good buddy of mine called Darren Spooney. So yeah, that's about it for me. That's who I am.
So have you been a photographer all your life? Is that been your career all the time, or?
No, well, I was kind of working all these stupid dead end jobs all the time, and kind of a blessing in disguise that the factory kind of went under. So I was like, I need to get my life back on track, So I went back As a mature student into college, kind of did advanced photography, got a higher diploma.
Wow.
And ever since then, that was in I graduated in 2016.
Yeah.
So yeah, so 4 years professionally I'm shooting, and I haven't looked back. My business has flourished into something really special. But this coronavirus is going to kick me in between the legs, to be fair.
That's encouraged our friendship, is me seeing the kind of stuff you do. And I struggle, I think, for inspiration, more so underwater, because that's largely the only kind of photography I do. I don't mind the odd snap using my iPhone or using my camera when I get to a dive site, but I struggle to get inspiration without looking at other people's work and then seeing yours. And then the quality of yours, certainly whether you're up in the mountains, and your time-lapse stuff is something else. I even tried the other night, and I had a go, and it was rubbish until you put music to it. And then as soon as there's a bit of music to it, it was like, we're only watching the sun go down over the street at the back of us. But it was brilliant.
Thanks,
so it is good to be inspired by other people and find other people's work without trying to copy it, but just to give you that, this is where you can go with it. So what's been your surface interval so far then? How long have you been out the water?
Get my lovely cheap little Zoop. Novo. Is it Novo? Dropped it. I need to buy a new one now.
You need to get a shearwater
I have
verdict.
a shearwater. How much are they?
Too much.
Too much. That means I can't get it. All right. So my service interval is the 17th of March, 2020. And it was only a short dive because it was cold. 45-minute dive.
Right. So mine is now at 86 days. So it's probably not too far off yours. I think mine was maybe a couple of weeks before. So maybe early March. 29th of February at 14 meters for 38 minutes. So it was quite cold, I think, that day.
Yeah. Try the depth of my one.
6 degrees.
7.8 meters and 10-degree dive.
Oh, mate, balmy warm, that, innit?
I loved cold water. It doesn't matter. Do you know why it came out so early, though? I remember the dive very, very clearly. Yeah. I actually had about 90 bar left in my tank. Yeah. I was bursting and I didn't have a P-valve on. I thought, it's my freaking suit, and I swear I had to get out of the water fast.
I tell you what, that is one of the best investments I have ever made, is that P-valve.
Yeah, is it?
I have to stop and lie extremely still. I can't move. I can't be doing anything. I have to concentrate and then go, force it out. Once it's going, but it has burst once. Oh, that wasn't funny.
What? Obviously, what happened? It fills up a piss.
So you were it's called a catheter condom. So it's sticky. It's sticky on the inside, and it's got a little nozzle on the end. So you roll it on, and it sticks to you, which is ideal. But then the pipe then shoves in the end, and you open and close the valve off your leg. And somehow the pipe comes up from sort of around the middle of your thigh, comes up over your chest and points down. So you're pointing up, if you know what I mean. But the actual pipe must have got a kink in it. So I'm going and going, and this condom's going bigger and bigger. And then all of a sudden,
excuse me. Oh, that's brilliant, man. The way you're describing it sounds like you're in a family planning clinic getting rid of an STD or something.
Get it, Lance.
Man, that's horrid.
Oh, it was funny. But, you live and learn, don't you? So now you can make some adjustments to your kit and make sure that it's, without making a mistake, you don't get anything right, do you?
No, not at all, in any way, shape or form.
So, obviously, I know that your dad used to be a big diver from conversations we've had in the past. But what drew you into diving? Was it with your dad, or was it just your love of photography, or something else?
It's kind of got a few different avenues. Like, my dad has been a massive scuba diver since he's got first qualified back in 1982. And he's loved it ever since. And still to this day, he's still diving. So, nice. Do you know, when you're growing up and, you might play this sport or that sport, and my dad would ask me, do you want to do a bit of scuba diving? And when you're a teenager, you're like, no, I don't want to do anything you do. I'll do my own thing. Yeah. I just want to rebel against your own parents. But man, was I sorry. I just thinking about it now, if only it started way back then, it'd be so much easier for me now. But my dad was he never came to any of my sports, like, or even none of my family did for some strange reason. Like, I played all these sports throughout the years, was very high up in basketball for a long, long time,
Yeah.
and they never came. But then when I first had my first dive, was it back in 2018? My father was on the pier at the shore,
Yeah.
and he was like a proud father watching his kid's first soccer
Face.
match for the first time.
Brilliant.
And that meant more to me than anything in the world. And like myself and my dad never had the best relationship growing up, but ever since I started diving, like the two of us are inseparable now. We're always around. He's always calling the house. He's always giving me advice and little things, even how to change a gasket on your tank. Do you know?
Yeah.
How to put on a regulator properly, how to clean it. And like, you've been a great help in doing that also. So like, it's just, I don't know. I think it's the photography that really pushed me though, because I've gotten to certain kind of levels in photography in different genres, like wildlife, landscape photography, time lapses, all these things. But I kind of wanted a new challenge. I needed something different. So another buddy of mine that I grew up with, that lived locally, he became a diver, and he had some photographs from underwater, and I was like, okay, maybe if I became a scuba diver, that'll give me a new challenge. And yeah, sure, it'll be really easy for me. Yeah, it was not easy. Underwater photography is a total different ballgame. You could be so competent about photography, about the exposure triangle, lighting, everything like that. You can apply it underwater, but it's evidence multiplied by 100 when you get under that water. Like, it really, really is. That's what I think was my passion to get underwater and start scuba. I was just maybe rekindle with my dad a bit more, and just that new challenge for photography.
That's quite lucky. That I wish I had that. And in a very similar way to you, none of my parents seemed to give a monkeys about what I was doing, and equally me, not them. Nothing. I don't care. They don't care.
I care, Andy. It's okay. I care.
Mate, thanks very much. I can sleep tonight now. But I was kind of in a similar way with photography, that the other kind of diving I fancied doing, whether it be cave diving or deeper, longer technical diving, I just didn't have that opportunity here. Whereas if I get a camera here, I can take that wherever I go. So it's something extra I can add to diving. So that's what sort of led me into it. So maybe I've gone about it the hard way then, haven't I? Because I haven't learned it out of the water. I've learned it straight in.
Well, I tell you this much. Once you get your exposure triangle and you understand that to a high degree, I think everyone else will start to fall into place. Then you'll start understanding a lot more. And like, for you to go underwater, if I were you, I wouldn't even bring flash. I would just go into the camera with no flash, just the camera.
Yeah.
And the house, obviously.
Yeah.
And start taking pictures and understand what things do for the camera underwater. Why is it so dark? Why is it so grainy? Like, why is this overexposing? And how come this part of the image is soft? And how come this part is sharp? How come it's all sharp? How come it's all out of focus? If you understand these little things, and don't try to do too much too fast. Try to do one thing at a time and get good at that one thing, and then move on, build yourself on to the next step.
How did you find that transition from being out of water to underwater photography? Not to mention being such a new diver.
The Skellogs here in Ireland, it's on this in Kerry, southern part of Ireland. So we did a dive down there, right? And I was overwhelmed by the whole place, and it was like really cool. And I just got my first proper housing. So I started off with a little kind of GoPro, and then I brought my Canon 5D Mark III in an Ikelite housing, and I was really excited to use it as my first dive. And conditions weren't exactly good. It'd be more of a drift dive than anything else.
Yeah.
And then dive buddy Mike Ort, he's just been like an uncle, like you were saying about your buddy. I mean, like, he's brilliant. He's taken me under his wing, and he's taught me so much about diving. And we always dive together all the time. So he said to me, do you want to leave the camera house in there? And I was like, no, I kind of want to bring it with me. And I was like, but I'll leave it there if you want, if you don't think I should. He's like, I know, I'll bring it if you want to. But from his arms, I should have just left it there. So two of us went back off the boat into the water. worst decision I ever did was bring that camera on that
Right.
dive. But you know what? I learned more about that dive in a weird way than anything else. I was more obsessed about my camera than my diving, and it taught me a valuable lesson. Don't forget about your diving. Consider that first before the camera. And like,
Absolutely.
I was all over the place. The drift dive was carrying me over this way, over that way. My camera's getting dropped and it's getting close to hitting the rocks. And then the visibility was terrible. And then I got nearly disconnected from my buddy. And then he had to kind of sprint up. And I'm a fast swimmer, like, you know, so he could barely catch up to me. And I thought he was behind me the whole time, but he was struggling to keep up with me. And he had to grab me by the fin and literally rip me back.
Wow.
And he just had to literally give his fist, fucking stop.
Yeah.
And I went, oh God, that's it. This is the worst dive ever. This, you know, so, but I learned more about that dive than anything else. I've always said it, you know, just, yeah.
I think if you can have a dive like that luckily nobody dies, but it all goes wrong, they're sometimes the best dives, because you'll talk about them for years anyway, but you'll learn so much from them, whether you've been diving 20 years or 10 minutes, won't you? So
yeah.
I know now, because I've done a few drift dives, I'd probably only take my GoPro in, and I'd have it on a little bolt snap so I could just clip it off and then get on with the dive. And then when I'm actually ready, pull it out and just drift along. Whereas you can't really be setting aperture and faffing around, can you, with all your lighting on a drift, because you're just motoring along. And then before you know it, you've smashed your dome port. Or someone has.
Yeah, no, like I think I took 3 pictures that day, and all of them just, I don't know why I even pressed the shutter, you know.
Yeah.
But like, even when we got back in the boat, like I was upset with myself more than anything else, and I felt like I left Mike down, and that's what I upset more about than him, than anything else. And he said it to me, you know, in a stern way. He's like, "Cop yourself on. No one died." He's like, "It was a crap dive. Get over it, you know. But move on. You learn from it. Absolutely. It's not as bad as you think, you know." And like, I prefer someone to tell me exactly how it is. Don't sugarcoat this stuff for me. Just tell me what I did wrong and how I can fix it. And he did, and we moved on, and it's never happened since.
You know, I like that.
Oh yeah.
As a professional photographer, to make that transition into the water, is there a dramatic change for you?
To a certain degree, yes, especially when you're working a flash, because flash introduces a whole new set of problems for you. So when you're shooting flash underwater, the visibility and the transmission of light doesn't throw as far as it would up in water. So like up on top side, if you're to use a flash gun, you know, you're going to get about 100 meters at a base ISO of 100. Okay. And if you go underwater, you'll be lucky to get 20 meters at full power, you know.
Right.
And you never really want to use full power either. And then you introduce backscatter, then you introduce, you know, the position of lighting, everything. So, and if you get the lighting wrong, then it's going to produce a bad picture. And we all hate backscatter. I mean, it's an absolute terrible thing. It's what makes and breaks a good photograph. And if you do get it wrong and it's a class photo, you're there kicking yourself. So, and there's only so much clone tool that you can do in Photoshop or Lightroom before you want to get rid of yourself, really, you know. But the transition from topside to underwater, it is hard, but once you understand, I think, the diving aspect, everything else comes easier. Even though it's got nothing to do with photography, I think getting the diving down will make it that much easier. And I still don't 100% have it down either. I'm not diving too long. I dive a lot. I really do, but I just, I think I need to put the camera away in maybe for a month and kind of dive and kind of get a better understanding about who I am in the water and how I can make myself a better diver, especially working on my trim, because I fluffed about with different BCDs and wings because I always thought I wasn't happy with this, and Mike has this BCD or this wing, so I want that one. And like, I'm the person, oh, it's shiny, I want it, you know. So what Mike had, I kind of wanted because I always looked up to Mike. So yeah. So diving before photography is my kind of, I think, should happen. You know? I think that was the biggest challenge.
I've discussed this a few times on either my podcast or with just generally within the dive club or whatever. And I think buoyancy control and trim are taught far too late in a diver's training, almost when they're making that transition from a recreational diver to a technical diver. As soon as you've done your entry level dive certificate with whoever,
Yeah.
you've got no real concept, unless you've had an extremely good instructor, of how to be great in the water. Get that buoyancy nice and level and trim and streamlining your kit, and then keeping your fins off the bottom. They're still teaching with the knees on the bottom of the pool, and then fins on the bottom of the pond or the quarry and that, and then you're kicking up all the crap, which is, if that's all you've learned and you're taking your camera in, you can't see a thing. So
Yeah.
I think it's certainly something that needs to be perhaps promoted a lot earlier on to make divers much better. And certainly, as a photographer goes, you'll be phenomenally better if you can use a camera at all.
You're 100% right. I still don't, like I said, I still don't have a trim down. I'm practicing it, especially in the last year. I've been really kind of headstrong on not freaking out. Not freaking out. That's the wrong term. But like if I'm coming up, I release it immediately when I need to relax and see, okay, let's try get my trim with my chest, with my breathing, rather than using BCD all the time.
Absolutely.
So if you can work on that side of the things, I think I've came a long way, but I'm still not there,
Do you use your BCD or your wing for your primary buoyancy, or do you use your dry suit only?
I put a bit of both. Yeah, a bit of both, because if we go down to 30 meters, the suit gets tighter and tighter and tighter, obviously, but I'll just kind of keep it loose enough just so I'm comfortable.
Right.
I think in my head, if you have it too loose, then you might get a bit colder, but it could be totally wrong. It's just in my head. Quick question. Have you ever went on a boat dive into the water without your fins and tried to fin and be like, sugar, I forgot my fins?
Yeah, pass them up and then try and kick out. Oh, horrendous. Nah, nails. So speaking of hard things then, what's the most adverse point in your diving career? What have you found the hardest short of buoyancy control?
Trying to make my air last longer.
Yeah.
And I was starting to get pains in my head ever so slightly then when I come up, because I was kind of like trying to hold my breath not hold my breath, but
slow your breathing.
Slow my breathing. And then as I going, I have a slight pain in my head, I was saying to my dive buddy, and then we said, okay, we'll see how it is later on, and then blah, blah, blah. And then we went for another dive the next day. They wanted to know, okay, is it okay now? I was like, yeah, it's fine. Go for a dive, and I come back up. And we kind of narrowed it down to say, okay, how are you doing in your air? Are you kind of like trying to make it last longer? And I was going, yeah, I says, I think so. I see what your bubbles rising up, so I'm trying to copy ye, maybe I'm wrong in doing that or whatever. And said, look, throw that all out the window. Just breathe the way you need to breathe, like you would on surface. And look, eventually over time, you'll get used to it and be able to kind of breathe for longer. Like take my dad, for instance, like he was diving for a long time and then he got sick and he hadn't dove for about 4 years, right? And he went into the water and I was with him for his first dive back. And the fecker, he hadn't dived in 4 years. And I had a problem with his heart, something wrong up here. Anyway. Yeah. And he went into the water and the fecker had more air coming out than I did. And like, how did that happen?
Well, yeah, you've got two options. Do what my best mate does and come out on 5 bar, or buy a twin set. It's simple, isn't it?
Okay. All right.
That's all I did.
5 bar one or two times, all right. To be fair.
I just couldn't keep up with Ali, because we're roughly the same build, but she's a girl. So I'm like busy trying to scrape through every wreck, every little porthole I'm trying to get through. And Ali's just like holding back, watching, checking in what's going on. I've not seen anything on the way there because I'm just like motoring along. Luke, and I'll go, so how much air have you got? And she'll go like 100 bar or whatever. And I'll be like, I've got about 30. Come on, we need to go up. So the first opportunity I had to go and buy a twin set, bought one. And now she's on a 15. I'm effectively on a 24. And we're about the same all the way. She can last as long as me, easily.
Yeah. And tell me this, so you've got like 2 12s on, is it?
So on my back, I'll have 2 12s joined with a manifold. Or if I do side mount, generally I've got 2 10s. Because they're a little bit shorter, I'm only 5 foot and a fag butt. If I use my Ali 80s, they bang on my knees when I swim. So it's uncomfortable. So you've got to go with comfort over fashion, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
But still, 20 litres, I can easily get, a long enough dive on them. I can be down for an hour, no problem at 20 odd, you know, an average of like 20 meters. So, you know,
I can do that on the 12 liter.
a 12 liter?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
at three.
can get an hour dive at about 20 meters. Yeah, on a 12 liter. Yeah.
How tall are you?
6 foot.
Yeah, but you must have lungs like fists. I've got lungs like a racehorse. That's why.
And just funny because my mate, Mike Gort, he's an underwater photographer as well. Really, he's American, so he might jump on your podcast sometime. He's actually a really nice guy to actually interview, cool. And he's a nice voice. But don't tell him I said that.
Nice voice.
Yeah, do you know, you need to talk to someone, especially Americans. Do you know the way they talk?
Right, yeah.
It's just the way they talk. I don't know. It's just maybe me. But he will go down, and he is a miser on air. I mean, like, he'll go to a depth of 15, 20 meters, and he'll be looking for nudibranch, and the fecker can literally stay there anything between an hour and a half to 2 hours if he's just looking for nudibranch, because he'll stay in the one area, you know.
Yeah.
We came up for the dive and we're finished, and it was kind of a shallow dive anyway at a place called the Blue Pool. And everyone was like, okay, it's been an hour and 50 minutes and Mike still is not up. And we're like, okay, do we need to ring the Coast Guard here? Like, and at the 2 hour, just below the 2 hour mark, the fecker come up, and like, he's there going, yeah, just stay in one area. And he's like, you should have seen all the nudibranch. They were everywhere. Look at these pictures that I got. Oh my God. It was like a child at Christmas, man. Wow. Yeah, he loved it.
I get cold. Although I try to do that, I just get too cold, just not moving around and just trying to focus on something and trying to get a decent picture. So I can't be doing that.
Well, don't just wear wet piss in the suit.
Well, yeah, just let it pop. Just keep it closed and let it go. That'll be all right, wouldn't it? Ace. So moving slightly off topic, we met through both having a YouTube channel. So
yeah,
whilst you've put a couple of diving videos on that I've seen, you're obviously more into your career as a photographer on there. In the grand scheme of things, you've not been on a long time, but you've amassed quite a following. So what do you think has been your success in getting that following?
I'm going to tell you the truth now, and everyone's going to laugh at me, right? And I don't care what to say. They can laugh all they want.
Yeah.
It's all about having savage gear. I mean, having top-notch equipment, having the best of equipment, and just, if you have that, and like, you can have the creative eye and you might not have the creative eye.
Yeah.
It's great to have it. But if you got shit hot gear, I mean, like, it's awesome stuff, like class camera, really good footage, great lights, time-lapse tools, sliders, all this thing, Mavic 2 Pro, you know, all these things, and you combine them all together, you can create quite a good video, and you can distract yourself by, it's like, I'm not the best person to be on a mic or in front of a video, but I can distract you by that, by using these flashy, lovely sequences of video, you know. Yeah. I'm not the best scuba diver in the world, but soon I'm going to have the Canon ESR under the water, because I just got I don't know if you can see it, the new housing for it. So it's just over here.
Right.
And so that's going to go under the water. So I'm going to start filmmaking under the water now as well, to make the underwater scuba vlogs that much better. But I think simply because of having all that gear over a short period of time has kind of boosted my production value, and it's came on leaps and bounds. Not only that, I can marry it then with the podcast to help promote myself and my personal brand through the podcast, and getting to know other YouTubers and other people, and kind of not leeching off them, but befriending them. And
then collaborations seem to work really well, don't they?
Absolutely. And you know, that's the way you kind of can grow. And I think my YouTube channel has really taken off in the last 3 months, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
And just past close to 1,300 subscribers now. And I'm nearly at monetization. So I think I should have it by the end of, or the start of next month. And then I can start getting paid by YouTube from this AdSense or something like that.
Is that on your watched hours? Is that what's holding you back at the minute? Just watched hours?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm at like 3,900 watch hours in the previous 12 months, and you need 4,000. So,
interesting.
Yeah. So I need you to go onto my playlist, press play, and just walk away from the computer.
Just let it go. I've been doing that. That's the only reason why mine's getting anywhere.
There you go, boy. Get in there. Yeah, that's the job.
So in that then, so if that makes you a good YouTuber, what makes a good YouTube video?
Okay. Character. it has to be character. You have to be able to relate to the person in front of the camera. I mean, like us these days, we don't have a lot of patience. You don't, I don't.
No.
Normal close up over here, Auntie Mary. We don't have a lot of patience. Think of it this way: when I'm taking a photograph of a client for a portrait, they have the mental capacity to keep still for you for 3 seconds, and then it goes out the door.
Yeah.
Genuinely, that's all the patience that they have. It's the same when you look at a video on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. Normally, you will give it about 30 seconds, and then if it doesn't appeal to you, you're gone. So you have to appeal to that person, that viewer, within 30 seconds, so you can get your hook in and keep them there. You know, and you got to keep reminding them, like, you know, how awesome this is and what you're doing. You got to sell yourself. You got to make yourself better than you really are. If that makes any sense. I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, it does, because I remember the first sort of 20 videos I did that I've since gone on and tried to remake before I learned anything about YouTube. I just banged a load out. But I remember the first ever video I made of why I was going to get into YouTube, and I was kind of sat in my garage. I'd laid all my scuba diving stuff out. It just looked like clusterfuck everywhere. And I was like dead nervous in front of the camera going, yes, I think that this is the most important thing in the world. And it just, I remember looking back and going, you knobhead, why have you done that? Because I wouldn't watch it. If I'm not going to watch it and I don't laugh at myself through it, how is anybody else going to laugh at it? Or how is anyone else going to find it interesting? Forget the thumbnail, forget the title, forget all the hashtags. If they get to the video and think, you boring twat, they're not going to watch it, are they? And that's what matters. So if I'm going to spend any money or put any time into it, it needs to have more of what might appeal to someone about me.
Yeah, that's why I was drawn to you, and that's why I've always kind of tried to push you along, because you don't realize what you have. You have so much potential. I'm not just blowing smoke up your own arse here. Genuinely, like, I was drawn to you simply because of your character, your demeanor, and the information that you are providing me with. Now you were put it into terms where I can understand. Okay, think of the last week, for instance, you put up your video about cleaning your regulator, leaving the bucket for 24 hours.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I genuinely did not know that. I did not know that if you run your regulator under a tap for just say 2 to 3 minutes to get all the debris out, all that gunk, I might have rinsed it once for 3 seconds, and then that was it. I wouldn't bother leaving it under. But you're dead right. Now I understand what I need to do to keep on top of my gear, keep it clean. And that's what draws me to you. And your jump cuts, I love them. They're very funny. You know, you might say, blah, 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 and next time, boom, you'll go to a different little thing, and it kind of marries into one another. The clips match each other perfectly. I love it. You and a guy called Peter McKinnon, I don't know if you know of him. No. Watch him. He's very funny. You and him have a very similar style. Now, his production value is ever so slightly just a bit better than yours, but that's because he's like, he gets paid about like 10 million a year from YouTube alone, you know.
Wow.
This dude is making hands over fist, so he can afford this production value. But the two of you, I do not see a difference between the two of you. Your character is just infectious.
Well, thanks very much. I like that. Cheers. I'll always take a compliment anywhere, and constructive criticism if anyone's got any. So I've talked to you about some of the gear you've got, so I kind of might know the answer to this. But since starting your YouTube and your podcast, have you come across have you got any sponsors?
Yeah, so I've got in my podcast, we get sponsored by a company called Hainel Industries. So they're very good. They're a lighting company, kind of flashes, batteries, kind of electronics for cameras. And they originated in Germany a long, long time ago. And they all moved to Ireland as a family.
Right.
And now they have a factory down in Bandon, down in County Cork. So they do very, very good quality gear for affordable price. So it's just that much better. Now, like, you can buy a battery for a Canon ESR or 5D Mark III or 60, for maybe €80, but you can buy a Hainel battery for like €40, and it's actually better. It's called an extreme battery, so you can use it in cold conditions.
Right.
Because in cold conditions, that'll run down your battery much faster.
Yeah.
So they give us quite a few bits and bobs of gear, so that's great to kind of get from them. And then they pay us then as well for our podcast, for sponsorship. And then that kind of relationship with them brought me onto a company called Lightra. So they're a lighting company, continuous light source. And what got me drawn to them is the fact that they found out I was a scuba diver. So they were like, "You're a scuba diver. Yeah, here, try this light underwater. It's waterproof up to 30 meters." And it's like, okay, great. So they gave me one light, and I went into the water and I did this, and I posted back my results, and yeah, this is what I think about it. And they're like, "Okay, here's a second one."
Wow.
Take it down
Yeah.
and see what you can do with two. I was like, "Yeah, sure thing." And then I came back and gave them results, and again I gave them pictures of the housing with those lights on it, and they're like, "Oh, brilliant!" Like I had the Ike housing with the arms and the strobes and those
Yeah.
lights on it as well, kind of in a kind of a beautiful scene with the blue pool in the background, the Atlantic Ocean, basically.
Yeah.
It looked lovely, and I sent them all off to them, and they're like, "Oh my god!" They were like, "Can we use these pictures?" Yeah, absolutely no problem. I was like, "No need to give me money. It's great." And then they said, "Do you want to be an ambassador for us?" And I was like, just the answer I was looking for, just the question. Yeah. So,
Brilliant.
yeah, I jumped on, and they've been very good to me. You know, they send me gear every now and again,
That's
and
great.
they give me a job, you know, every once in a while. So it's great, you know. And you know what? I had this conversation with my friend recently, like, you know, would you sell your soul to the devil for something that you don't believe in? And I do have a moral compass, genuinely. And I've been asked by these stupid influence kind of programs on Instagram. I'm sure we've all seen it, like watches, these wallets. They send me messages every week. Do you want to be an ambassador? Do you want to do this? And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I really don't want to, because your product is probably going to be shite. You know, I don't want anything to do with it. But with this Lytra product, I really do believe in it. I mean, it's a fantastic product, and it's not cheap either. Just for
No.
that light, for a 1200 lumen light, 30 meters waterproof, I think runs about $220, about €200.
Yeah.
So they're not cheap.
Well, nothing, nothing in this world seems to be cheap. Certainly for diving and photography mixed. Put the two together, at £1,000.
Very true.
So I'm interested, not because I'm searching for sponsorship, but I'm interested. Do you go searching as such for sponsorship, for funding or whatever? Have they come and found you?
Bit of both. I went looking for sponsorship off people, and some of them didn't even bother replying back, didn't want to even know who it was. Some actually replied and said, "Sorry, we're full with ambassadors at the moment, but if something jumps up, we will contact you. We do like your style of work, and we do like your portfolio." And then others that I didn't ask for, like Trad, just popped up. You know, Hainl Industries, my co-host, he had a relationship with a guy from a distributor, and we told him, "Oh, we've set up an Irish photography podcast. We're the first ones in Ireland." And they were like, "Oh yeah, we'd love to kind of help you out and kind of work together." And that just kind of happened since. And ever since, like, we've launched our podcast back in August 2018, two others have just popped up, and since this COVID-19, you know, I think they just set up a podcast just because they're probably bored at home and it might just flare out. And I don't know. But one of them is a good friend of mine, Bernard Garrity, and I'd like to plug it if I can, BG Landscape Tours. He's absolutely a gent. He's a great human being. He's the guy who brought me to the likes of Italy and Norway and Isle of Skye, all these other different countries.
Yeah.
So he takes me all around the world, and his podcast will go places simply because of his format and how he does it.
Right.
The other one, I hope it does well, simply because it's competition, and competition is good for everyone.
Yes.
Now, if there was no other podcast, I think myself that we would probably get complacent. We're kind of like, yeah, it's a monopoly where it's a one-horse race. We can do what we want. We're going to get our listeners here in Ireland. But I think because those two other podcasts have popped up, that's maybe pricked up our ears a bit. And we're like, okay, maybe we need to put a bit more effort into this now, you know, just stay on top. And as of last week, we checked the charts, and we're still number one in visual arts here in Ireland. And the other podcast is actually number 2. So we're still on top.
Happy days, mate. Good stuff. I kind of like that, the idea of that competition, because when I try to look for myself, try and find my podcast, if you just put in scuba diving, there's quite a few throughout the world.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to be a little niche within that niche of scuba diving to talk about, like we have, what you found hard, where divers have been through adversity, and they've built up that mental or physical resilience throughout diving, rather than just having someone on to tell me how great they are, how deep they've dived, how many countries they've been to, You know, I want to know what's been hard and what you've had to improve in you to make this sport that we all love a little bit easier, because I find it hard every day, whether it be just physically arduous, getting stuff to the dive site, or too expensive to go and do it, or even to the point where we're getting kit to go underwater with. You know, it soon mounts up, doesn't it?
True. So tell me this, so like coming back to sponsorship, and something that I want to ask you. So you've trained with Apex to kind of do their kind of the
Servicing,
the regular servicing and all that. Could you not maybe talk to them and say, look, I have a YouTube channel. This is what I've done so far to date. I'm starting and getting this kind of grip and rating. This is what's happening for me. I am certified with G for servicing regulators. How about we kind of work together as a team if you'd like to kind of work out something like that? I mean, maybe like this could be good for you and Apex, because like I said to you already, like you have something special what you're doing. And I think Apex would kind of, they'd be delighted if it was my opinion to jump on with.
Well, see, there's a few agencies that I've tried, certainly with branding, that I use. You know, I only have Apex regulators. I only use Hollis masks and Fourth Element this and whatever. So every time I try and advertise the video that I've made in the lead up to it being live on YouTube, obviously I'll put it on Instagram. I'll try and take a cool picture of it, you know, a little bit quirky, faff around with it on Instagram so it pops a little more, and I'll tag them all in it. And then I thought, well, clearly they're not always going to look at what I've tagged them in, because they must get tagged in thousands of pictures every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I emailed a few of them and sort of asked that question in as polite and professional but a direct way of what you said. Maybe I did it at the wrong point. If I do it today as opposed to 3 or 4 months ago, I might get a better response. But I didn't get any with some of them. So I'm at a loss to how many times do I keep approaching them? Do I go to the next person? Or do I just go, if I just carry on concentrating on the reasons why I started this as a creative outlet for me to keep me busy and out of trouble when I can't dive, then, you know, if someone wants to support me in that respect, they'll come and find me. I don't know where the...
I think you should keep working hard exactly how you're working right now. And then maybe in 3 months' time, revisit something. Revisit what company that you really do believe in, like Hollis. They're unbelievable. They're very good masks. I'm mad to get one of their masks myself. Apex, they're one, like you said, one of the best regulators you can get. I have one myself.
Yeah.
But kind of reach out to those brands again, saying, look, this is what I've improved from since I've talked to you last time. I've exponentially grown. I've got a wider variety. I've started to talk to guests all around the world in the scuba diving community. You know, kind of approach it that kind of way. But I wouldn't be in the same boat as you. Like when I try to get guests on, especially high-profile guests, I don't want to badger them too much.
Well, I think hit the nail on the head earlier. You mentioned about your portfolio of work, whereas yours is spun the last few years that you've been working as a professional photographer and obviously improved day to day, whereas mine's only started in September, or maybe August, September last year. So what portfolio I have is so small right now. I am that tiny fish in a massive pond. Whereas, like you said, if I leave it another 3 months, my portfolio should be better. Now I've got all the proper kit. So let's get back onto the podcast instead of...
scuba diving. Scuba diving. That's why we're here.
Yeah. So we've covered your sponsors and whatnot. So what's your biggest inspiration underwater with your photography?
Who's been my inspiration?
Yeah, or what inspires you to take a particular genre, whether it be macro or wide angle, close up, or...
Yeah. Here's going to be a weird answer for you, and it's probably going to sound like I'm narcissistic, but I inspire myself to better myself every time I go under the water. And I don't mean to say I'm unbelievable. I'm not. I'm good at what I do, but I'm not the best in the world. So when I come out of the water and I see what I produce and I get it onto the computer and edit it in a stylistic way that I'm trying to portray to the viewer, and I see something, I'm like, okay, I like that. I'm happy with that. But what can I do better? How can I get back in the water and make this image better. And that's how I kind of approach myself, and not just in underwater photography. I apply this to landscape photography, how it can work on my composition, how from viewing it from a different angle can make me a better photographer. But that's kind of, I know like it sounds narcissistic, but that's what my biggest inspiration is, to better myself. It's like when we go running, like if you mightn't be able to run with your knee or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you go out and run a 5K or 10K, and you get a 5K or 10K in 49 minutes, who's your competition? Who are you racing against the next time?
It's just
Is
yourself.
yourself.
Yeah.
Just yourself. So you go out, you run, you go, I got to beat 49 minutes. I got to beat it. I got to beat it. And you're checking your watch as you're coming up along to the 10K. And man, you start running to get past 49 minutes. So you get it to 48. But then the next race you go, you got to beat 48. You're constantly trying to get better all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was to pick someone else who would inspire me, it would have to be, I reckon, Mike Orth, my buddy. He's definitely one of my inspirations for underwater photography, and a guy you really need to talk to. This dude, he's Nigel Mike here. He's the best underwater scuba diver photographer in Ireland. He is just ridiculously unreal. I'll send you a link to his Instagram profile, man. This dude is in Cuba with crocodiles and mangroves.
Oh, wow.
I was like, man, were you not shitting it in the water? It's like, no, they're very calm animals. Like, they're really, really nice. But and then he's like, but then a crocodile tried to attack one of the lads' camera housings. That's when we realized we needed to get out of the water. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I wouldn't have been in the water in the first place. This dude has been all over the world to photograph sharks, silky sharks, hammerhead, great whites. I mean, dude's unreal, man. So Nigel Mike here, he's on. So, check him out on Instagram.
On that note, have you been in the water with anything that people would class as dangerous, like sharks or anything like that? Have you only ever dived in your local sort of ocean or sea environment there?
I've been the most dangerous thing in the water. No, like, and probably truth in that. I've only really dove in Ireland around County Clare, Kerry, and the furthest I've been outside of Ireland is Lanzarote. We'll do a shameless plug for Safari Dive. They're really good. They're the company that I dive with over in Lanzarote. They're such nice people. They've got Deborah Colombo. She works there. She's an underwater photographer. And all the staff, they're so nice. So what I got to see over there was really cool, because I got to see seahorses, angel sharks, stingrays, which I did not get here in Ireland, unfortunately. So
when were you there?
I've been there a few times. We had our honeymoon there. My dad has an apartment there, see, so that's why we tend to go back there quite often. So all I do is pay for fucking stupid cheap Ryanair flights.
Yeah. What area was that? I know where Safari is, because we were there in January. What area is your apartment in?
Playa Chica.
Right. So we dived off that.
Yeah. So that's that lovely little cove with the two kind of rocks going out on either side. Yeah. So it's a lovely calming dive, And
then it drops quickly off, doesn't it? And there's like a great big cavern just in the water there. Yeah, it's beautiful there.
Yeah, that's the extent of my abroad scuba diving, to say the least.
Did you dive with them off the old harbour wrecks? The old town wrecks?
Oh, no, I didn't get to do that. But what I did do is I did the underwater museum, the Atlantico Museum.
Yeah.
I did that. That was really cool, right? For like half an hour. And then it's like, I'm kind of getting bored of this. It's like, I loved the start of it, and then the middle part where the big, like something from Game of Thrones, there's the big wall. Yeah. You swim through. It's really cool. But after that, then it's kind of like,
we were the last divers. There was only 3 of us plus the guy who guided us round. But I'd read the bloke's book in where Rubicon dived. We went out with Rubicon, and he had the sculpture guy. They had his book in there, so I was reading that, and they were all brand new. The photographs were when the sculptures were brand new, so they were pristine. And we got in, and they're all like minging, aren't they? They're all they've been down there forever. But it was beautiful because there was no one else there, and we had loads of time on the wreck, and there was loads of eagle rays mooching past. But those, I think there's 3 wrecks in the Old Town Harbour, and then there's the Irish bar just across from the car park, so you can come straight out, get straight in and have a pint. But then wrecks, I got some cracking. The one photo of this, there was an angel shark on the deck. I got literally right up to its nose, taking some mega pictures. And my mate came behind it with his rebreather on, so really quiet, tickling its tail. So it lifted its tail up, ready to breathe, thinking it was a... Then we swam off, so it kind of followed us, came around the wrecks, and I just happened to go 3 shots. All my settings were perfect. My lighting was right.
Love it.
And you can just see one of its pectoral fins just lifting up, as it's trying to turn. So get the white of it. Oh, mate, best photos I've ever taken.
Class.
But unlucky, my housing then broke. So where you press the shutter release, inside, so the opposite lever, that broke. So I sent it off to Olympus saying, can you repair this? So I sent the housing off for repair. They said, yeah, £104, and we'll have it back to you within a week.
Cool.
A couple of days later, I get an email. Hello, Mr. Clark. Sorry, we can't repair this housing, so we'd like to make you a deal. We're going to send you a brand new OMD1 Mark II and the housing that goes with that, but you just need to send us your camera. Get in!
Get in the post now!
I couldn't get home quick. I got like bombing it home. So sent it all off. So all my lenses fit because it was still a micro 4 thirds.
Micro 4 thirds, yeah.
I was like, but I needed to then get new ports. So I spent, I don't know, a few quid anyway on the right ports. But still, the setup I've got now, I would not have if they hadn't sorted me out. And I still to this day can't really understand why they would do that deal. They brought out the Mark III about a week later, didn't they? So they might have just had a load of them that they just wanted to get rid of.
I still wouldn't mind.
Something like that. Thanks very much.
Happy days.
I know. So have you got any tips for budding photographers in or out of the water? Such as me. I just want you to tell me how to be better.
Yeah, look, as cheesy as it sounds, believe in yourself and your abilities, and have I only learned this word like last week, a bit of graw, a bit of belief and a bit of lust in yourself to go make yourself better. And don't settle for second best. Always try to be that one step further. Like I said, with the 5K or the 10K, always try better yourself.
Yeah.
And read books. Like pick up Alex Mustard's book. It's beautiful. Very well illustrated, very well read. It's a lovely book. It's colourful, impactful, and it gives great diagrams and how to make things better. And tune into Andy Clark, Andy the Northern Diver, and he'll make you better as well,
Nice little plug for me, thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Because I still struggle. I understand the sort of light triangle, but I'm shooting on full manual all the time.
Good.
But I don't really understand why I'm doing something, if that makes sense, because I've not been doing it long enough.
That's okay.
I get where it's going and why it's doing what it's doing, but I don't quite grasp the why. But I'm assuming with time I'll get greater understanding of it'll just become natural to just flick your aperture more open or your f-stop smaller or bigger, whichever.
Yeah. Think of it this way. In the exposure triangle, for every action, there is one reaction. So in your triangle, so if your ISO gets boosted up, then your shutter speed will have to be adjusted because it gets brighter. So you need to make your shutter speed faster.
Yeah.
And then with aperture, do I want something a shallow depth of field? Do I want a long depth of field? So it's just kind of, also don't learn too much too fast. One thing at a time, Yeah.
Happy days. So is there anyone other than your sponsors that you spoke about, other than all the people's books we need to read and all the people that you've done podcasts with, is there anyone out there you want to say hi to or give a name drop or anything like that?
It's definitely my daughters, Taylor and Alicia, and my wife, Trish. I mean, like, without my family, I wouldn't be here. They are very, very supportive in what I do. like I get to go away to all these lovely countries for landscape photography, for trips, you know, and I can be who I want to be, and they never hold me back. They really don't, and they believe in me 100%. They're always behind me. So yeah, it's my kids, it's my family. I love them so much, even though they're a bit of an assholes at time, you know, but I still do love them. You know? So it has to be my family. You know, family is everything, Andy. You know.
Yeah, I think I'll echo that. Although I've got 3 daughters, they don't live at home anymore. They've all fired off now.
Oh, what age are you?
How old do you think I am?
Tell the truth. What age are you?
How old do you think I am?
I'm not going to lie to you now, right? Do you know what I'm going to do? Wait there now. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to write this down, and then you're going to tell me your age. Because I want this to be honest and true, right? Yeah. All right, so as you look at you now, oh, you have a few crow's feet there in the left eye and the right eye.
Yeah, the Botox is wearing off on my forehead now.
I would say, all right, okay. I have it wrote down now, so you got to tell me what age you are.
So it was my birthday on the 30th of March, just gone, and I was supposed to have a massive party, but didn't have one. So I'm 39 again.
Oh!
Mate, you're a ledge. You are a legend.
39. Oh, wow. Okay. Jesus Christ.
So I should have been 40, but I'm sticking with I'm 39 again until next year so I can have a proper party.
But you do look younger than 39 though, I'll give you that much.
It's because I've got a nice lens on my camera now, so it's not all bucketed out in front of my face. Oh, you're a legend. But yeah, I'd echo what you said about family. You know, without Ali letting me, you know, she sat out there sunbathing in the back garden sort of thing. You know, she goes shopping while I'm editing. She just makes dinner when she gets in from work and I'm still faffing. Without that support network, you'd never do anything that you want to actually do. And as long as you keep the balance so they are happy, I think you'll always get that, won't you? You just lucky to find that initial support network. So
absolutely.
Kudos.
I'll say one more thing. Say hi to Darren J. Spooney, my co-host of the Irish Photography Podcast. He would kill me if I didn't mention him.
Hello, Darren. Thanks for listening, Darren.
Yeah, no, look, just keep up what you're doing, man. Like I said twice already in this podcast, I do really believe in what you are trying to do. And it's the first year or two is the hard work, but everyone else will start to fall into place. I promise you, man. You are onto something special here because I don't think there's anyone else like you that's doing what you're doing. So keep it up, man.
No, thanks, mate. Right.
No,
well, thanks for coming. And what we're going to definitely have to do once all this is sort of passed, I have never been over the water to Ireland ever.
Oh, you love it. You love it.
But I've heard an awful lot of tales about diving in Ireland. And so now I've got that little friendship group going on with you over there. We'll definitely have a visit. Or if you ever come over this way, we dive off of Anglesey an awful lot. So obviously there's a ferry that comes across from there. So it's easy for us to get over. I don't know. Would you fly though, or would you get the ferry over if you're coming over to?
I'm going to get the ferry because I've just recently converted my van into a bit of more of a camper van. So I'm just going to drive the van over and I can sleep wherever the feck I want. And that's the reason why I built it. You know, it's just so I can go away for a whole weekend with my kids and just immerse myself in the Wild Atlantic Way, which is a spot here in Ireland. Brilliant. It's just beautiful, man.
That's awesome. I've got a long wheelbase Volkswagen Transporter, but it's full of work stuff. So I kind of want to get another one so I can have that camper van.
Just because you don't have to pay for kids anymore. Just get another one. You'll be grand. Ali will love it. She'll love it.
Yeah, she's very much, the outdoorsy type. She loves any of that camping and that. So done in it, mate.
All good.
Well, thanks very much for your time, mate. I really do appreciate it. And not just on this, obviously, the time you've given me to when you're probably busy with other things, but to bother answering me and helping me out. I do appreciate it a lot. And if there's anything I can ever do for you, don't hesitate to ask. Probably nothing, but... No,
you can teach me how to be a better diver when we hook up. How's that sound?
I don't know. I think your dad and your best mate's probably better than me.
I don't know about that. All right, so buddy, thanks for having me on. I really do appreciate it, man.
Take it easy, buddy. See you later.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Cheers. So that brings us to an end of episode 6 with my friend Diarmuid O'Donovan. Links to all the things he's discussed will be in the podcast notes, along with details of how you can see the work that he does on YouTube. My guest on episode 7 is Grace Westgarth, an ambassador for the Girls at Scuba movement. I first met Grace at the Go Diving 2020 show, where she talked about her diving since the age of 10 and now at age 17, she's training to be an underwater videographer with hopes of joining the Rolex Scholarship. You've been listening to Are You a Scuba Diver? Fancy a Brew podcast with me, Andy the Northern Diver. You can find more episodes of scuba related content on my YouTube channel. A link is in the podcast notes. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and consider leaving us a 5-star review. If there's someone or something you'd like on the show, then let us know via the Facebook page in the podcast notes. Again, thanks for watching and see you on the next one.